As a Scrum Master, how will you handle conflict? This is one of the questions you will hardly miss in any Scrum interview. But the question is, what are they actually looking for? Now, the reason why this is one of the most asked questions is because Scrum, it's about working with people. And you will agree that when you're working with people more than three, four, you definitely cannot avoid conflict. But the first thing we want to understand here is when we talk about conflict, what is conflict? Right? Because this is where a lot of people get it wrong and they're trying to kind of conflict. What is the type of conflict I can give? What is an example of conflict I can give? All right, we're gonna handle that in this video. But the first thing I want you to pay attention is what the concept conflict is all about. Now, conflict is difference in opinion. Now, personality crashes and misunderstanding. So I might be thinking differently from you. That's already a conflict. So don't always think a conflict as maybe too profiling. All right. So now we have that understanding. In this video, I am going to give you an approach on how to answer this question and also how to be able to pick different case studies. So at the end of this video, I'm going to give you about 3 different case studies. You want to watch up to the end. Now, before we go ahead, couple of announcements. On the 17th of March, we are launching our Scrum Master training program. This is for those who don't have any background in SAFe, in Scrum at all. So if you're interested, use this number on the screen, reach out to me. For those who enroll before the end of this week, so today's the 6th of March. So if you enroll before the 12th of March, which is the Sunday, you definitely have a personal discount from me. So if you want to get in that training on the 17th, simply just send me a text, I am in. Before, so for those who are enrolling before then, are you already certified and you're in a job market and you're frustrated that you're not getting the job? Trust me, we have a plan for you that's going to help you close that gap. For those who are certified and you are not certified as a SAFe Scrum Master, trust me, you need SAFe to survive in the market today. You want to be in our training on the 17th just to acquire your SAFe Scrum Master. Okay, so let's go straight to the question for today. How will you handle conflict? I'll give you the 5 steps, which if you outline it, you definitely not miss out anything. So the first step in order to handle conflict, number 1, is to acknowledge that there is conflict, because if you don't accept, you will not understand that, or you will not agree to solve it. Now, the second step is to listen actively. The third step is to identify the root cause. The fourth step is to collaborate on the solution. And the fifth step is to follow up. I know you were expecting, oh, I'm going to hold a one-on-one with the person and then find out what is happening. That is good. But if you want to address conflict as a coach, the first thing is that we are looking for you to outline what are the different steps that are engaged or are involved in addressing the conflict properly before you go ahead to start telling us, holding a one-on-one and finding out. So now, if you have been asked this question in an interview, this is how I recommend you address it. And thank you very much for that question. When we talk about conflict in the team, conflict may arise because of different in opinion, personality crashes, or misunderstanding. Whenever I have a conflict with my team, there are 5 steps I ensure that I go through to resolve the conflict. Number 1, I acknowledge that there is a conflict. Number 2, I meet with the party and I listen actively. Number 3, while I'm listening, I am using powerful questioning so that I can identify the root cause. And number 4, I will collaborate with the solution, collaborate with both parties on the solution. And number 5, I will follow up with the different parties to make sure that it is resolved. Now, you can now go ahead and give a scenario. Now, conflict management is about a scenario. And I did promise that I'm going to give you at least three different scenarios. All right. The first practical scenario you can give on conflict management. Number one, why I was having a backlog refinement meeting. I want to talk as if I was the one in the interview, right? Why I was having one of my backlog refinement meeting, I had two of my developers that strongly disagree about assigning a specific story point to a story. And one of them thought it should be um, a five-story pointer, and the other thought it should be a two-story pointer. And even when I facilitated to get them to explain themselves and come to an agreement, they still kind of really had on their own point. And I realized it was getting a bit of tension between these two people. And based on that, I have to kind of calm down the situation by saying, okay, team, you know what? For now, can we go with the upper story pointer, and then subsequently, if it doesn't take much time, we're gonna learn. Now, this is the reason. When it get to a point where two people doesn't want to give their opinion, remember, I don't have only two of them. The other people in the team probably will not really have a problem with that. But when it comes to a point where there's a really, really tight conflict and people don't want to give of their opinion, you go with the larger number, right? Because you don't want to go with a smaller number. You go with the larger number so that it always gives room. But then you do that to close that. Remember, you are the coach. So you want to ensure that this argument doesn't continue. So when you do that, you close that argument on. But you've already noticed that this is a conflict. So after that, I had a one-on-one with both team members, and I asked John, hey, I noticed there was kind of some tension. I know sometimes you guys always agree, but what was the difference, or what kind of make you not really want to give up your idea? I would like to understand more so that next time you help me on how to facilitate better. Right. Now, remember, for you to actively solve any conflict, you need to have the relationship. So if you are a scrum master that doesn't care about your team during conflict, they won't give you the right answer. Just imagine if I am with friends, but we barely talk. When something happened and I give you a call, it's just going to be a straight answer. But if we always communicate, you'll be open enough to talk to me. That's the rationale of you as a Scrum Master building rapport with your team. And Paul said, you know what? He thinks he knows it all because he's been here longer. He can just talk on everyone. Now, I now understand that, okay, there have been some. Is there something more you want to tell me about that? Has there been other scenario? Now you get now to understand the point where he is coming from. And now I go to Peter. Hey, Peter, I notice what's going on? Is there something? And then Peter also thinks that, oh, this guy don't want to learn. I've been here longer than them, so they don't want to learn. Now you realize that it's more about their personal self. They're not thinking about the common goal. So in that case, with the junior developer, what you're going to coach them is that, okay, you know what? I do understand your point. I feel your point. But then one thing I want you to understand is that I know sometimes it might feel a bit kind of really, really uncomfortable, especially when people don't want to look at your opinion. But sometimes we kind of differentiate on that and focus on the bigger goal. But I would not really want you to think that maybe Peter actually did this because he wanted to really not listen to you. Do understand that Peter been here for long, and as individuals, sometimes we just want to be together. So I will not really want you to take this personal. Let's focus most of the time on the bigger goal. I'm also going to have a conversation with Peter and let him know how we can better handle this next time so that we don't hold the team behind. Is that something you can do? Yeah, that's fine. I got no problem with that. So you always need to end up by asking them, not just by closing them, asking them. The same thing, you go to the other person and find out why they could not really give up their opinion. And then from there, you're able to also coach them. That's also you're not just resolving, you're also coaching them. And the common point is help them focus on the overall goal of the team. So that's conflict number one. Now, conflict number two, how this is for you, right? So don't always give conflict on team members as if you never have conflict. Now, conflict about you, you can say, okay, in one of the meetings, I had a situation where I had a conflict with my PO. And what happened is that one of my team members has been carrying over my story spring after spring. And in one of our daily stand-up, I actually really kind of brought it up publicly. Say, hey, James, we have been working on this for 3 spring and we can't keep doing this. And the reason I did that is because I've had personal coaching session and actually explained why this was really a big hindrance. And he has promised over and faith. So I needed to bring it not to the attention of the team. I needed to let him know that he's holding everyone back. And then the PO immediately counteract and say, oh, no, we're in a free space. You cannot just boss people around like that. And which I understand. But at that point, I did not have to respond to the PO directly because if I did, that would bring tension. So I quickly just like, oh, I understand you. And I said, oh, sorry if I didn't hurt your feeling, but the goal is just to help us. And I kind of closed that up. And when that session ended, I had to go meet with my PO personally and explain to the PO that I did not really have any personal grudges with the developer, but this my actions which I've taken and they keep on doing this, and this is really affecting the way we work. And given that we are committed to delivering value, you will agree with me that this is not considering value. And the PO said, oh, sorry, I wasn't thinking that way. We just resolve our differences, right? And that was how we keep on. And I also actually have to work with the PO to understand that we are all team leaders. So even if the way I approached the team member was wrong, it wasn't really all right to kind of speak publicly because it created tension for the entire team. And we had an agreement that anytime we have a misunderstanding, we need to step back and discuss them and not really have open exchange within the team. Okay, perfect. Now, the third level of conflict, now this one's the higher one, right? Which is conflict with management. So we've given you conflict, team members with team member, conflict between you and the PO. Now, conflict between, let's say, between you and management. Then I'll give you one more and we close. Now, a conflict that can happen between you and the management. Now, let's say that you had a conflict and your manager attended one of your retrospective attended one of your attended one of your spring planning meeting. And then he noticed that one of the stories has been carried over 2 different spring without asking a reason why this has been handled. The manager immediately launched a direct attack. Okay, look, you need to be working on your capacity. You are not working on your capacity, and this is the reason why you're carrying this over and over again. You need to sit up as a team lead. I don't want to ever see this again. All right, that's a conflict. All right, exchange of idea. Okay, I immediately assured the manager that this is not going to happen again, and we are going to do everything possible to fix this. Right, but this was a conflict for me because we have done everything possible, and this specific story, we have even escalated it to the manager, and it has everything tagged there. So at that point, the manager had no clear follow-up, right? I know that the manager was definitely not really happy that this has been going on over and over again, and a very serious story. But this story had a major blocker, and which we have even escalated to the manager, but then he has not paid close attention to that. Now, at that point, it was a conflict because I needed to defend myself right there, right? But then it's not right to argue with your manager in front of your team. So I had to accept that blame so that we can close. But later on, I was able to meet with the manager and actually explain and show the manager the number of times we've escalated that problem to his desk, and where he even made a comment that he is going to do a follow up with that, and he has not done that. And I also gave the manager that I even went ahead directly to contact the DevOps team to see if they can resolve this challenge. But the DevOps team told me that they had so many tickets at that point, so they could not handle it. Now, the DevOps team is a shared service, right? So because of that, this is the reason why. And the manager said, "Oh wow, sorry for that. Sometimes many email come there." So that's an important conflict because you're not putting your manager on the spot. It just show how you handle your maturity in leadership. Okay, one last conflict. Now, one last conflict which you can use would be a conflict between, so we've done developer versus developer, we've done you versus the product owner, we've done you versus manager. Now we're giving conflict that will not cause any constraint or will not put you in a spot that you can lose your job, right? And now let's do a conflict between you and and one of your team member, you and a dev. Right. So now a conflict between you and a dev could be you have a conflict with one of your team member. Now let's go back to the first scenario where you actually had to speak to this team member publicly. Right. And let's assume that after that, a team member felt like, oh, I was treated unfairly. And because of that, it kind of strained the communication between you and that team member. So that's a conflict. Now, what you do with that conflict is that you want to set a one-on-one with that team member, and you want to be able to say, hey, look, John, I didn't mean to put on the spot. You need to understand that in the point of leadership, we also put on the spot by upper management. And the way for us to do this is to really bring people up. So I'm not trying to kind of put you on the spot, but remember, we committed to these and we need to do what we promised, right? So I'm sorry if that actually put you on the spot, but that wasn't personal. It's just for the sake of the team. And you need to, just by doing that, it's enough to solve the conflict, right? If I did that and then I did not do any follow-up to actually calm down the situation, that would go to a real conflict because it put me now as a boss, right? But then when I'm in the seat to do my work, it doesn't matter whosoever you are. I need to make sure that I follow the rules to do the job, right? But after, I want to also make sure that I am moving ahead I'm moving ahead to make sure that I do a follow up. I still keep that personal relationship. I always try to let my team understand that, okay, look, when I'm on the seat and facilitating, now I wear a cap as a scrum master. But out of that room, let's keep our personal opinion different and then let's go. So we separate ideas from people. All right. Perfect. So we just gave all different scenario on how to handle conflict. I hope this actually helped you. It's a Monday. For those who don't just want to listen to this over the video and you want to be part of a community where we take your hand, walk you, and make sure that we are evaluating you step by step until when you can land your first role as a Scrum Master, go out and reach out. We're open to help you. For those who you just heard about Scrum, but you have no idea, all right, we can also walk you from the first step to the last step. For those who are already Scrum Masters and you feel like, you know what, I need some of this knowledge while I'm working, we also have a community of practice for Scrum Masters that are working. Okay, that was enough information for Monday. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and drop your comment.